Hey everybody, welcome in to another episode of Invest Answers. Today we're going to look at Galaxy Digital. As you know, many of you actually asked me to analyze this company, and for good reason, because I like crypto and I like derivatives of crypto, and there's probably no better one here, but let's walk through my stock analysis framework and identify every single angle and determine at the end if this stock is a good investment or not at its current price with everything they have going on. So let's jump right in. As usual, disclaimer, this is not investment advice, just for entertainment purposes only. Please contact your financial advisor if you think about investing in this stock or any others. And all of the decisions I arrive at are arrived at using data and information points. So if it's anything you don't agree with, blame the math. So without further ado, we start with the space. What is the space? This space is all things crypto. This company touches every aspect of crypto, from mining to trading to seed investment and venture capital investment to asset management. It's got it all. And it only touches crypto investments, which is probably one of the hottest areas right now. That's the reason this stock is becoming very popular. So when we go back to the way I approach stocks and investments, I like to pick the leader. So when it comes to this type of business, it's kind of unique because Galaxy allows for exposure of an investor to kind of seed and venture capital type markets within the crypto space. And you couldn't get that with any other type of investment. And Galaxy has four main businesses, as I mentioned: asset management, trading and exchanges, investing, and advisory services. So they really do it all. And when it comes to their own personal investments and treasuries, very interesting. So make sure you stay till the end to see some of that. So let's talk about the leadership team. So Mike Novogratz is a bit of a stud in the space. He was a top brass individual at Goldman Sachs, and he surrounded himself with very strong leaders from Fidelity, Goldman Sachs, and the crypto mining space. So his leadership team is exceptional. And that's a very, very important factor to look at when you analyze a business. Now, the financials, unfortunately, don't tell a very good story. And I could beat them to death and go into great details, but there's no real point because it's not like a retailer or a technology company. It's an asset management company. And of course, they're investing in early stage companies that sometimes lose money. And therefore, don't expect profitability or a lot of profitability. Or as I like, normally line of sight to profitability. None of that exists here, but it's a special type of company for obvious reasons. We'll talk more about why that is. When it comes to analysts that look at the company, there are none. And there are probably none because there isn't a company like this out there. So it's very hard for analysts to try and figure out. So crypto space is very new and this company is very unique. Now, the other thing I like to look at when I look at stocks is look at the analyst target prices that they have for these stocks. And of course, because there's no analyst, there's no target price. So we can't do that either. So it looks like so far we're coming up empty. No analysts, no analyst targets, financials, not so good. But let's go a little bit further. Now, one of the things that it's very important to know, if you look at Yahoo Finance for your stocks and information, you're not going to find the true market cap there. So you got to go to sites like Bloomberg to find that out. So this is a piece of information from Bloomberg website, which looks at Galaxy Digital Holdings and the actual volume traded, what it opened at, etc. But you have to note as well, the price quoted here is in Canadian dollars. So you can see it opened at 17.50, it closed at 16.65, so it fell 5% on the day. But you'll also see the day range is very volatile, from $16 up to $18. And the 52-week range from 55 cents to 20 bucks. You could have bought this stock at 55 cents a few months ago, and even in September for only $2. But I'll talk more about that after. But the key number here is the market capitalization of $5.387 billion. That converted to US dollars is $4.23 billion. So remember that number, $4 billion, because we're going to use that number later in the analysis. So who are the investors? Another thing I like to look at is who is behind the company. Now, there is a lot of institutional investment in this company to the tune of about 42% of all of their outstanding shares. But these companies, I don't know. Like Slate Path Capital, looks like they ditched about 15% of their holdings. And CI Global Asset Management added a lot to their holdings. They're nearly the number one holder of actual shares right now. And then a couple of other names, Foresight, Golden Falcon, Amplify, Cohen Investment Management. I don't know any of these companies. They're all kind of small, but there's no ARK Invest, there's no BlackRock, there's no Vanguard. None of the big names are there. So probably the reason for this is they're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's not a New York listed stock. Let's go a little bit further. Let's look at insider selling. There was quite a bit of insider selling 6 to 9 months ago. And whoever sold 1.6 million shares probably kicking themselves right now, because 6 to 9 months ago, the price was under $2 a share. So if they just waited another 6 months, they could have 6x their money. So, or even more. So think about that. Anyway, sometimes people, again, need to sell shares to be able to buy stuff or invest in different assets that they think could perform even better. So no red flags here. Not concerned about that at all. Now we're going to get to the exciting part. This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. Is the juice worth the squeeze? So far we've been kind of coming up empty. We haven't found any compelling reason to invest in the stock. But let's see what's next. So, do they have a moat? And if you saw my how to pick a stock video, you'll see the importance of moats. So innovation, yes, they invest in innovation, and they are covering the gamut, like true what I call vertical integration in the whole crypto space, from the underbelly of the business of the miners to the exchanges and everything else in between. They're also a first mover, like Mike Novogratz. He was able to see the importance of crypto at a very early stage and even did things like was able to buy Ethereum at $1. So he was in there before anybody even knew what the space was. He's also building standards with some of the companies he's building, and his companies have network effects. Now, what that means, when you have a stable of venture capital funded businesses or seed businesses, you can actually have them bring about a symbiotic relationship where they can all help each other out, share information, share customers, do things for each other. And that's what he can do here with that whole network effect with that set of companies, which is very powerful. They don't necessarily have a data store yet, so it's missing, but they could potentially get there with some of the customers and companies that they have as well with that type of data. Let's go a little bit further. They used to own Hut 8. As you know, when I analyzed all the mining companies, this came out tops. That was my favorite because of my full analysis. But it shows you a couple of things. One, Mike Novogratz knows what he's doing. He builds top-notch companies. And if you look at the treasuries of Hut 8, they had a whole lot of Bitcoin. I wonder where they learned that from. Probably Mike. Now, here we get to the most important piece. So guess who the third largest HODLer of Bitcoin is? You guessed it, Galaxy Digital Holdings. They own 16,400 Bitcoin, and they are nestled right between Square and Tesla. The only company bigger is, of course, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. So that is very, very big, and that treasure will be worth a lot. But let's analyze exactly what that means. As usual, I build out my framework and I analyze the Bitcoin ownership as it pertains to stock price and overall capitalization of the company. So if you look at the Galaxy Digital price today in US dollars, everything here is denominated in US dollars, it's $13 a share. The Bitcoin price, approximately 48,000 at the recording of this video. The Bitcoin owned, 16,400. The market capitalization of the business is $4.23 million, which is the number that I pulled from the Bloomberg site and converted into US dollars. And therefore, the Bitcoin value of that holding is, let's call it $800 million. So the net capitalization is $3.4 billion if you pull out the Bitcoin holding itself. So the easy way to think about it is nearly 20% of the value of Galaxy today is made up of Bitcoin. So when you analyze the company, you have to really take that into account. And you have to take into account the impact of increase in prices of how holding that 16,000 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to $100,000 a share, you know how much they own. So it's too early to see the full impact of the actual prices of Bitcoin, but the point is 20% is Bitcoin, and that could easily become 40% of the value of a company, assuming the stock price stays the same. Let's go a little bit further. Let's look at the technical analysis. So when you look at the chart, it's not very nice. So first of all, you'll see that in September, you could have bought Galaxy for $2. So it's really skyrocketed since then. And sometimes, as I mentioned in my previous video, the early bird gets the worm. So we might be a little bit late to the party here, but let's still analyze it. So the 200 daily moving average is about $4, and the MACD is not looking good. And the price today is about $13 US. Now let's go to the big conclusions here for Galaxy Digital and find out exactly what's going on. So, per my estimation, and it's more of an unusual company to analyze, I believe it is the ultimate crypto investment bank. Their Bitcoin stack is 20% of their market capitalization, rounding up a little bit. And most importantly, beyond the value of their Bitcoin, they have another trump card under their sleeve. And that is this. So unicorns, anybody? They have BlockFi. They own part of Ripple. We won't mention Ripple, of course. They have Block One. They have Backed. They have so many interesting companies like Bitfury, BitGo. I don't know much about Bitstamp. I do. But again, some really, really interesting plays here. And at least 2 or 3 of them will probably be billion-dollar companies. So if you look at the math, $4 billion market cap, they're probably sitting on at least 2 or 3 different unicorns here, 3 billion, and they have 16,000 Bitcoins, which is worth nearly another billion. Just those parts of the business itself is worth more than the market capitalization. And that for me is a compelling story. Another way to look at their stable of companies is when they're benchmarked against others. This is an old slide from the past, but you can see this is kind of the fintech versus digital asset blockchain unicorn list. And you've got big names like Stripe from the fintech that are doing the most incredible disruption, to other companies on the right-hand side like Coinbase and Block One, Bitfury, many of which are housed within Galaxy Digital. So that is very, very compelling. But let's go a little bit further. Conclusion number 2. Mike Novogratz, again, he was top brass at Goldman Sachs. He co-founded Fortress Investment Group. He's the early adopter of crypto, bought Ethereum at $1 and Bitcoin very early as well. And he's got a track record of success. So do you trust him to manage your business? Probably, yes. Now, the most important conclusion of all is conclusion number 3. Galaxy Digital made more money than Coinbase in 2019 and 2020. But the Coinbase IPO is valued at about, they reckon, $110 billion. So the value today in private markets today is $110 billion, or pre-IPO, whatever you want to label that. That is huge. Galaxy is valued at $4 billion in public markets. So there's a massive value disconnect here between the value of Coinbase versus the public value of Galaxy Digital. So my conclusion, summarizing everything here, is if Coinbase is fairly valued, that means Galaxy is undervalued. That's it. So if you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Look forward to seeing you in the next video tomorrow. Thanks all. Be safe.